When couples conceive a child through in vitro fertilization, the unused embryos are frozen, sometimes indefinitely. The storage facilities are sometimes called frozen orphanages. Well, a new documentary is showing how these embryos can get a second chance at life through adoption. Well, CBN's medical reporter Lori Johnson has more.
You'd never know by looking at this beautiful little girl that she spent 10 years as a frozen embryo until Allie and Derek adopted her. After being implanted in Allie, she was born 9 months later.
I had no idea that people had embryos that they were knowingly putting up for adoption for couples like us to use.
Many years ago, this child was conceived along with 13 others when Tara and Travis went through in vitro fertilization. They implanted 3 of those embryos, and as a result, Tara gave birth to their 3 children. Unable to implant their remaining embryos, however, the couple wasn't sure what to do with them.
The way we felt, we wanted to give them a chance at life, because they could be sitting there in a freezer, or you could give them the potential to have a life.
So they put them up for adoption.
It was hard to let go because they were yours, you know?
It took us about 3.5 years to fill out the paperwork, because I would start it and then I was just like, I can't do this, I'm not ready for it.
They chose to give them to Allie and Derek, who wanted no contact after the transfer.
We were very open about we do not wish to have a relationship with the placing family.
We're for the closed adoption.
But God had a different plan.
We had gotten an email asking if they could pray for us over FaceTime. And when we opened our little rectangle phone, and it was the parents and all 3 kids sitting there, and we prayed together and we cried together, and from that moment, the FaceTime turned into a group chat, and the group chat turned into family vacations. And we tell people we were probably the exception and not the rule, but we did not just adopt the embryos, we adopted their whole family and extended family.
Scientists say embryos can be frozen for up to 100 years and still be born. So far, the longest has been about 20 years. Frozen embryos who are adopted, implanted, and born are often called snowflake babies. More couples are doing this, but it's still rare. Even though 1.6 million unborn babies remain in cold storage in the U.S. alone, only a few thousand are adopted each year. These couples hope that number will increase, which is why they participated in the new documentary, Spares, Second Chance Stories of Frozen Embryos.
Before I started this project, I just prayed, Lord, this is your story. Bring me some people to tell your story well. And he provided these 4 amazing couples
Who can speak to millions of others.
1 out of 7 couples go through some infertility. And so this is an incredible, painful thing. And everybody is looking for options and options that honor the Lord.
Those who choose IVF sometimes feel surprised when they discover the unintended consequences.
For my wife and I, when we went through this years ago, we were going to church in New York City and met with Tim Keller, our pastor, and we asked him, what are the moral implications of this? And he said, you guys are the first people to ask me this question.
Turns out IVF usually involves extracting up to 30 eggs from the woman, placing them in a petri dish, then fertilizing them with the man's sperm, with the goal of creating as many embryos as possible. For those who believe life begins at conception, these are children. Then last year, the Alabama Supreme Court ruled that's exactly what they are.
IVF has to be taken very, very seriously. These doctors and the people that decide to pursue it have to take it so seriously, and I think sometimes they just create these embryos without any thought of what's going to happen to the rest of them that don't get used.
After the unborn children are created, they're then tested.
They actually rank them and they determine which ones are viable and which ones are not viable. In our case, we had 14, and the doctors came to us and said, we believe 7 of them are viable and 7 of them are not viable. And that leads to some huge questions as well. And you say, okay, are they really not viable? What is this process?
Generally, not viable means the child would have special needs. Minimizing these lives is one of the reasons Caleb and Paige decided against going through IVF.
To even have this idea about eradicating a type of person because you don't view them as enough, to me is a form of evil.
Concern about the treatment of embryos conceived through IVF is one of the reasons the Southern Baptist Convention voted last year to oppose it.
I would really hope that as this kind of the fallout of this happens, that there is more and more embryo adoption, especially among Christians who even might agree with the SBC about that IVF is not the path that Christians should take, but then, okay, these babies still exist, it's still happening. Let's be part of the solution.
As the controversy surrounding IVF increases, many faith leaders say it can be a good choice for couples who want their own biological children, as long as it's done within certain boundaries. That usually involves creating a lot fewer embryos and using every one of them. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
The reason so many are created, so many embryos are created, it's all economics. It's the sheer cost of extracting and then fertilizing. That's an expensive procedure. And so the doctors involved in this say, well, I don't want to put you through multiple times of that because of the expense, and so we'll create more than you need. And we'll see which ones are viable. We'll implant those. If the pregnancy is successful and comes to term, wonderful, good for you. But now you have this issue. You have frozen embryos and what to do with it. It's a wonderful thing for people to step up and say, well, let's adopt them. Let's give them a chance at life. Jesus came that we might have life and have it more abundantly. When we value, when we treasure human life, no matter at what stage of that life, when we want a culture that celebrates life and celebrates Christians, that is a wonderful thing. If you're interested in this, and for more information about how snowflake adoptions, all you have to do is go to our website, cbnnews.com.
Want to grow deeper in your relationship with Jesus this year? Well, Lent is a powerful way to do that. So what is Lent? It's the 40 days before Easter when you can fast or give up something like maybe certain foods, social media, or your favorite Netflix show. It sounds difficult, I know, but it's actually a great way to refocus your heart on God. It's the spirit versus your flesh. And when those cravings hit, instead of giving in, take it as an opportunity to turn to God, seek Him, and grow in your faith. To encourage you on this journey, we've created a daily email series to guide and uplift you every step of the way. Our hope is that it helps you stay committed and strengthens your walk with Jesus. Ready to take the next step? Sign up today by checking out the caption below and start your Lent journey with us.